All right, we still recording? Because I got a blooper for you.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so I had originally written this for a speak pipe for GDC. However, their speak pipe only gave me 12 seconds.
Ooh,
This is a little play on a song called Jackson by Johnny Cash, except completely rewritten the chorus to be relative to Destiny.
all right.
Oh God, I can't believe I'm going to do this. See, DesRaven, you get to redeem your sing points on your podcast.
Great. Nice.
All right. I'd been carried by a reaper, faster than a sniper crouch. We had been talking about darkness never since the light went out. We're going to trials. It's the ice show gator. We're going to trials. And off to hell I go. End.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
I had to do it.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning into episode 103 of the Guardian Hub podcast, where we talk Destiny and our love of the game. We do bring on different guests from time to time to talk about them, learn about them and their communities, and their experiences in Destiny. And we also discuss other topics. But your host, as always, this week are Kingsley Mac, Sin, and DesRaven. How are you guys doing tonight?
Magical, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
And Des, are you a magical as well?
I'm doing.
You're doing? Could you say you can taste the rainbow?
I don't have any Skittles. I don't know if Des has any Skittles right now.
Not on hand.
That's that one, right? Taste the rainbow Skittles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's gonna be a note for me, dog.
Yeah, that's a no for me tonight too. But
Yeah,
I have been having a lot of M&Ms recently. I had some. I've only found them in the past at the M&M store, like in Vegas or like those big locations. But at our gas station local mart a few weeks ago, they had the coffee nut M&Ms. Have you ever heard of those or had those ones?
Yeah, I've heard of them. You know, my favorite jam right now when it comes to M&Ms is the brownie ones.
Oh, I haven't tried those, but I've seen them. So
you are missing out. Your mouth will be happy.
Well, have you tried the coffee nut ones?
I'm pretty sure I have, but I'm a brownie guy too.
You're a brownie guy. But then they only had them for like a week, and I can't find the coffee nut M&Ms anymore, and I'm sad again.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll survive with regular peanut M&Ms. Do you have a favorite M&M flavor?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I have one. I mean, probably peanut, just because I'm weird. Peanut butter isn't bad. I do like the crisps that they had at one point in time as well.
Yeah, those are good. Well, I thought a lot of people liked peanut M&Ms. I don't think that's weird.
Well, I don't know. With so many like potential possibilities of M&Ms,
Gotcha.
it just seems a little basic.
No, it's good. My wife's like, I don't like all the fancy ones. Just give me the peanut ones. So there's often a bag of peanut M&Ms in the cupboard. So we have that as an option. I don't know if we need to talk about any other food. We'll get right into our guest. We have SweatySpookz. We'll introduce you in just a second. But do you have any M&Ms that you like?
Just the regular ones, if I'm being honest.
And there you have it. Guest for this week, SweatySpookz, regular M&M guy.
The basic M&M guy.
Hey, everybody. I'd also like to note that this week, Sin is not shy.
Oh, that's true.
You can tell you listen to the podcast then.
Might be a fan of the
appreciate
channel.
that.
Absolutely. No.
How's everybody doing this evening, gentlemen?
Good, especially that you're here.
Fantastic. And who knows? We might be here to talk about maybe Destiny?
A little bit.
Potentially.
Potentially. But the side of M&M's. And perhaps Skittles.
Yeah.
Sounds magical.
That's
Is that an M&M in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Oh,
That's just my lucky charm. Back off.
It's magically delicious.
Oh, man.
Oh,
So, SweatySpookz, cool name. Let's just get right into that part, because I am curious. What made you come up with that name, good sir?
Sure.
what's
So
up with that gamer
What's up with that gamer check? I think that's copyrighted. We won't do that one.
So SweatySpookz, let me see. I've never had the privilege to dive into Destiny when D1 was a thing, which to this day I'm constantly kicking myself for. However, I got into Destiny when Forsaken dropped. A former person that I used to work with, I don't know, he's still a friend of mine. I'm in his clan. Anyways, I kind of noticed that he was always in a party playing this game called Destiny, and he would never come over to play Call of Duty or any of those other first-person shooter games. So I was like, what's all this rage about this Destiny? Am I still in here?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So anyways, I ended up picking up the game. And for the first year that I was playing through Forsaken, I mained a warlock, and that was influenced by my clan always shit-talking crayon-eating titans. So anyways, I struggled the first year a lot. Come on to the second year, I decided I was going to main a titan. And in that year, I forget what season it was called. It would have been, I guess, whenever we got to the moon. Trying to think of what that's called.
Shadowkey? Or are you talking
Yes.
about
Yep, Shadowkey.
Season of the Undying?
Yep, that's the one. Yep, Undying. So in Season of the Undying, a friend of mine that was in our clan, his name's Coin of Death, kind of a play off of Harvey Dent. He was like, why are you so scared of the Crucible? And I was like, just not for me, man. Nope. Tuck tail, run, stay away. But at some point, I ended up having to go in there anyways, whether it be a quest. Maybe I was chasing a certain gun that I noticed somebody else had that I didn't, the usual reasons why people are forced to go into the Crucible. So I asked for his help one day. I was like, I'm trying to get this gun. I forget what the gun was. Can I get some help? And he's like, you know what? Yes, but we're going to take you out of your comfort zone. You're not doing this in control. And I was like, what? Yeah, we're going to take you into comp, Sweaty Crucible, and we're going to do it there. And I was like, dragging my feet through it. We got through it. But then I noticed Luna's Howl and Revoker and Recluse and how strong those guns were in the Crucible. So I went on a hiatus for about 2 weeks from the clan because what I was doing was completely nosediving into comp. I found it a little easier to focus on engagements because it's not so chaotic with 6v6. So whenever I dove into that, I spent about 2 weeks in there. I ended up getting my Recluse, my Revoker, and my Luna's Howl in the span of 2 weeks, and also didn't sleep.
Oh, yeah, no sleep, right?
So whenever I come back, they're like, okay, so you got your recluse? Nice, for a guy that was pretty terrified of the Crucible. And I was like, and my revoker. And then they were like, oh, good job, good job. And I was like, and my Luna's howl. So they started calling me Sweaty from that point. And I think my gamer tag at the time was Pantera333. And anytime I went to watch like Lucky or any of the Destiny streamers to see what they were doing, they would always say Panther, and that was my favorite band at the time. Still is my favorite band, Pantera. So I was like, okay, this really, yes, it's a strong part of who I am, but it doesn't really uniquely identify me as an individual. So the first thing I was going to go with was Sweaty Gherkins, just because it sounds funny. But I was kind of worried that like some kid playing Destiny would be like, Mom, what is this Sweaty Gherkins? And then I'd end up getting reported and lose my account or something silly like that. So I spent a little bit more time thinking about it. I like Halloween themed things. I don't know, heavy metal head is just kind of the thing that I like. It feels comforting, homey for me. So I was like, you know what? Let's see if SweatySpookz is taken, but we're going to take the S off and replace that with a Z. And sure enough, I was the original owner of the name, and somebody approached me with an icon with it shortly after, or a logo rather. And yeah, I just kind of been owning it ever since. And yeah, I think it's pretty unique. I see variations of spooks every once in a while, but I think SweatySpookz really kind of plays out to who I am as a person. I'm not going to sit there and say that I'm a god player because I'm definitely not. But I go in there with the best attitude that I can, do the best that I can, and try and learn from each engagement. What I did wrong, what could improve. Maybe I rushed too much. Maybe I should have held back. And that doesn't just strictly apply to the Crucible. This could also apply to PvE as well, be in raids. Maybe I need to better communicate with my clan members. The like. But that's the story behind the name.
Oh, I love it. It's a great name. It really is. You're right. It's something that is unique. So it's probably not going to be taken, right? If you ever had to sign up for another new social media that came out down the road or stream platform or something like that.
Yeah. Now I've been noticing that through other games as well. This is a Destiny podcast. We're going to talk about Destiny, but I'll say that through trying out different games and stuff, I check to see if SweatySpookz is taken, and it's not taken anywhere. So I would like to consider myself the SweatySpookz OG.
You are. And great alliteration, SweatySpookz.
Thank you.
And you have a Discord, the Spooky Mansion. I
Most
love
certainly
that.
do.
I absolutely love that. One of my favorite rides at Disneyland is the Haunted Mansion. So I just kind of think of that every single time I see your Discord.
Thank you. Originally, it was just called SweatySpookz TTV, but I was like, that's not really great for representing a community. That's great to represent myself, but I don't want to be one of those guys that like put himself on a pedestal. Everything's about me, because that's definitely not the way that I am. And for anybody that does know me, they know I'm not like that at all. So I was like, well, what can I do to name it something that's encompassing relative to me, but still, I don't know, a community-based idea. So that's where I come up with the name, the Spooky Mansion, because it, Halloween themed and kind of houses everything all in one.
Awesome. And you obviously stream. Sorry, Sid, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to say earlier, I don't think we said this yet, but you're from Canada, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
The Z thing. I don't hear it often, but when I do, that's awesome. Whereabouts, not looking for exact, but just generally speaking, like Western, Eastern?
No, I don't mind sharing that. The province that I'm from, I'll say, you fellas in the States and call it a state. Here in Canada, we refer to a particular area or a county, I guess, as a province. So if you had to guess, I'm curious, what would you guess?
Well, I think I already know, so I won't guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard that episode, so.
So Sen has to guess.
The Guardian Down episode. I'm trying to remember. Now you're going to put me, like, I have a horrible memory as it sits anyway. So now you're really trying to make me think.
You don't gotta try to remember anything. If
Queen,
you can pinpoint
Queen something.
Nope.
I don't know. Is that even a thing?
You're pretty close. You're like lukewarm, I'll say. But if you had to place me into either Western, Central, or Eastern Canada, North or Southern part of the Canada, or wherever part of the country, where would you think that I would be from?
Eastern.
You got it on the money, buddy. So pretty much as far eastern as you can go without going to Newfoundland, Labrador, which is completely separate island, I guess, if you want to think of it, except it's like a massive, massive island. But anyways, we're also not connected to the mainland. I am from a province called Prince Edward Island. We depend on either ferries to connect to the mainland, which we're not far from New Brunswick, which is our neighbor, and their neighbor is Nova Scotia. You may have heard of Halifax. So we're pretty close in that area. That general family of provinces is known as the Maritimes or the Atlantic. So yeah, I come from Prince Edward Island, and you either have to take a ferry or cross the Confederation Bridge in order to reach us. Fun fact, Prince Edward Island, Charlottetown, the city that I live in, is actually the birthplace of Canada.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I guess you kind of think of us as like your less popular Washington that nobody cares about, unless it's summertime.
And you're a further time zone than Eastern, right?
Yeah, we are ahead by 1 hour as Atlantic Standard Time. So usually it's pretty easy for me to plan stuff out using Eastern Standard just because that seems to be what most people are familiar with. And then I'm just 1 hour ahead of that. So yeah, it's pretty decent.
Solid. So I was lukewarm with the Queen thing. Prince, Queen, I was close.
Yep, and the fun part is, even to further say about lukewarm, on Prince Edward Island there are three different, I guess if you want to call them counties, three different parts of it. There's Prince County, there's a Queen's County, and there's a King's County. Prince being the absolute far west, Queen's being the central part of the island, and King's being the far eastern side of the island.
I have the map pulled up as you're talking. It's fun.
I live in the Queen's County. That's where Charlottetown is. So, I mean, technically, you could say that you were 0.5 points correct.
You kind of win, sir.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Man, that area I've never been over. I'm from more the west. I've been into Western Canada several times, like Vancouver and Vancouver Island, but never on the east. Now, we were talking about a fun specialty food item that you have over there, one of your claims to fame in Canada. Tell us about several different Canadian foods, because I haven't talked about it on the podcast, but I love talking about it with people, things like poutine and other things. But tell us some fun things that you guys have there to eat.
Ooh, I'm getting excited. So I am a foodie. For any of you who don't know me, I absolutely love to eat food. And with that comes cooking food sometimes. I've always been a fan of on the barbecue. But in the bear claws, that's a very smart idea. I'm thinking about that myself. But anyways, so coming back to one of our signature dishes that you absolutely have to try if you happen to be in the area. And you might find variations of this elsewhere, but I can guarantee you it is not the same. And I've tried them. I mean, I haven't been to the States on a regular trip, I guess. I went on a trucking trip with my grandfather, but the most I got to see is the back of a grocery store in Connecticut. Not really much. But I've been to Ontario, which is more central part of Canada. So, it's west from where I am if I'm most eastern. And they were trying to sell what they had labeled as a donair. And the first thing that they did wrong was try and serve it on a piece of bread. That was wrong. It's supposed to be a pita, first off. But basically, you get your pita, and there's all these shaved pieces of specialty meats. I'm trying to think of what they carve it from, if it's like a spindle or something like that, or a spit roast. But they cut off all this shavings of meat, put it in there. They shove some mozzarella cheese in there with some onions, red onions preferably, and some tomatoes. And it doesn't look like much, but once you add the signature donair sauce, which I'm not even sure what that mixture is, I'll look it up later for you guys if you want. It's just kind of more of white pasty sort of sauce, I guess, if you want to call it that, because it has to do with dairy. Whenever you dip your donair into that, that's really your signature idea of a donair. Another thing that we use donair sauce for is for something that we call garlic fingers. I'm not sure if there's a different name for it or not in the States, but basically it's just like your flatbread pizza idea with garlic butter, cheese, mozzarella, bacon, and then you dip it into the donair sauce. Or what I like to do sometimes is dip it into Frank's Red Hot sauce. Let me see here. So that kind of knocks the most obvious one out of the way. And like I say, most people that are from the States kind of associate it with a gyro, which it is definitely a little bit different than a gyro in terms of flavor, that is, anyways. Moving on, the other dish that I guess we're kind of signature for is something that's called a poutine, or poutine as I like to call it. It's basically just your regular hand-cut fries, which Prince Edward Island, by the way, has the most amazing potatoes and fries in the country due to our high levels of iron in our soil. Hand-cut fries with mozzarella curds, not the shredded mozzarella, like not pizza mozzarella, but the curds itself.
Oh, yeah.
Topped with some turkey gravy, my preference. Excuse me 1 second, sorry.
Delicious.
I had to sneeze. Didn't want to sneeze on the mic. That's kind of rude. But yeah, some people like beef gravy. Probably most likely from like a roast beef of some sort. And the like. But I guess if you're a vegetarian, you probably prefer veggie gravy, which I've not tried myself. But mostly what I like to use is KFC gravy because, let's be honest here, it's delicious, and most of us like some food with our gravy.
Yes.
Trying to think of what else. So one thing about where I live, we have a pretty diverse culture. We have a lot of people that, well, basically Canada is, and I'm going to say, in my opinion, don't at me, is basically a country where people from all over the world come to live in peace, I'll say. Maybe they're trying to run from something, or maybe the opportunities in general are just better. And for example, I work with a lot of people who send half of their wages back home to their home country to support their families. So that's another option as well. But anyways, with that diversity in culture comes diversity in food. So especially in the summertime on PEI, just about every corner you turn is going to be a different type of food shop. Like you can get shawarma here, you can get Chinese food, obviously. You can get like authentic Japanese sushi. You can get all kinds of India food. Like what did we have tonight? We had Indian and Hispanic cuisine, I guess, with tikka masala and trying to think of what that chicken thing was.
Chicken tikka masala?
No, well, yes, it was chicken tikka masala with medium spice, and I thought it was pretty spicy myself. I wouldn't want to try their hot. But there was something else, a samosa, I think that's what they're called, chicken samosa.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one of those with it, and my goodness, the flavor whenever you go to one of these authentic shops, just amazing. And it's one of the reasons why I love being on PEI, because like we really depend on tourism, and that's where you really get to see the best of PEI in the summertime, because there's probably not a soul in the world, thinking about you, Gator, that doesn't want to come over and visit us in the middle of the wintertime. Am I right? So whenever it's summertime, even now, like I did the math today, for me it was 16 degrees Celsius. Now, if translating that over into Fahrenheit, I believe that's 60 Fahrenheit. It might not be the warmest weather, but coming from, I don't even know what below freezing is in Fahrenheit. But coming from really frigid temperatures, like 60 Fahrenheit is really nice, especially when the sun's out. You start feeling that sun heat against the back of your neck again. And, today was a really nice day and a good example of that. And whenever that sun comes out, people start stirring, people are getting out of their homes and becoming more active. And that's whenever you start seeing and smelling the food.
Man, you have me sold so far. I'll have to come up during the summertime sometime. What is a common city that people would fly into? Or is there just some direct one on the island that's... Okay.
Yeah, where I live, I think, is the only, I'll say, public airport. There's a couple other airports, but they're not really being used. It was more just for the World War. But yeah, no, just Charlottetown. I had another thought too. Oh yes, and if you were to go to Newfoundland, you can get a specialty alcoholic beverage, otherwise known as Screech.
Oh, Screech.
Yeah, they have like this interesting tradition over there, and I only know this because my father recently came from over there. Whenever you go to Newfoundland, you get something that's called getting screeched in. My dad got a certificate for it, but basically it has something to do with kissing a cod because their culture heavily depends on codfish. And then you get to take a shot of their screech, I guess. I think it's comparable to a rum, maybe? I don't even know. I've never tried it myself, so I'm not the best person to ask exactly about it. I just know that it's a specialty item that's relative to Atlantic Canada that I don't think is made anywhere else. Kind of like how sake is traditional to Japan.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Another thing to put on my list here.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize that we actually have stuff to do here in Canada.
Well, I know there's stuff to do, but yeah, there's like, in some ways it's like so big, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, 100%.
But that area, just looking at the map, seemed pretty cool. Like I said, far west, like, Vancouver Island was pretty cool, and your area seems pretty cool also. I've been to Calgary before. It was kind of boring.
Yeah, and another signature part of PEI, because we're an island, our beaches, man. Oh, it's the place to be in summertime. Absolutely amazing. Of course, I have a couple of preferred beaches where, it's just sand, not too many rocks and garbage and stuff like that. Not that we have a lot of that, but yeah, you almost have to know a local to take you to a certain spot. Like my favorite spot is a place called Thunder Cove, just outside of Kensington, Prince Edward Island. And it's not your traditional idea where you walk down a boardwalk and you get down to a beach area, but you have to kind of carefully climb down a cliffside where there's like a bit of a path. And once you get down there, you have all these sand dune walls and sand dunes as well, but sand rock walls that kind of cover you. So you could have a campfire there, maybe stay there for the night, have a couple drinks, and bring a barbecue, things like that. And there's definitely a lot of camping out on the beach and camping in general in the summertime on PEI. It's one of our favorite things to do. Get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. I mean, I know we don't have the big, massive skyscraper towers kind of city, but even still, just to get out, go into nature, and spend some time with some friends and family can really do wonders for the mentals.
Yeah. Oh no, it's great. I kind of have a feel with you describing where you live, what this is like, and it'd be very interesting to see if I visit it someday, how much it matches up. But either way, you sold me. Yeah, we could talk. We'll definitely, if more comes up on that, we're welcome to talk about it. But I wanted to talk about your, you do streaming, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit about how long you've been streaming for, what, obviously know you stream Destiny, but what your goals of streaming are, what you stream, and where you hope to take it someday.
Sure. So the thought of streaming technically originated with a certain, very special to me, 3 podcasts. One of them being Guardian Hub, another one being Guardian Downcast, and another one being Two Titans and a Hunter. I had originally discovered Two Titans and a Hunter, and what was going on at the time was a lot of my friends that pushed me into Crucible, they were kind of, I think this was during a lull period at the end of, was it Season of Arrivals that dragged on, I believe?
Yep.
Yeah, so during that time, I was taking that time to really hone in on just not being a potato. Not that I really was, because like I said, I did manage to get my Recluse and Revokers and all that whatnot, but there's always room for improvement, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So during that season, I was just looking for something to listen to while I was at work. I work for a Japanese parent company, I guess, called Sekisui. What we do is we make diagnostic reagent kits for hospitals. So basically, if you were to go to the doctor and say, I may have diabetes, can you test me? And they do that test outside of the body, we provide the doctor the kit that they use to do a medical test, to test you for, whatever it is. We also make COVID test kits as well, so if that tells you how busy I am lately. But anyways, moving on. Where was my train of thought? So I was getting better at Crucible. Where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of curious about the
how you started.
streaming
How you started streaming.
Right, and the 3 podcasts. So whenever I'm working, I'm on an assembly. Yeah, the tripod. So whenever I'm at work doing assembly of these kits, I have 8 hours from Monday to Friday where I can just listen to podcasts and all day long. And honestly, I would prefer to listen to Destiny podcasts over listening to music lately. It introduced me to this community that I never thought that I would actually, on a personal level, actually connect with. And I think one of the first people that really stood out to me is here with us tonight. His name's DesRaven. He was on Guardian Downcast, and I discovered GTC through the tripod with 2 Titans and a Hunter. But anyways, in his episode with GDC, pardon me, he was just, I think it was just something light and gentle, but it basically referenced mental health and how that's important to him. And I'm not going to deep dive into this just because I want to keep it as light as I can. But basically, I have my own history of my own. I'm celebrating 1 year completely substance-free on March 8th that has just passed. The past 10 years has been cannabis, and 2 years before that has been more of the illicit nature. So hand in hand with that, mental health, because obviously I was trying to fill the void somewhere. So I really connected with Des when he just was honest and open about it. And the reason why I admired that was because it takes a certain person to open up and at least be open to the idea of being vulnerable. So as soon as he started talking, I connected right away, and I was like, yep, these are the guys that I can actually be myself around. It revolves around a community of Destiny, which is something I'm trying to find out some more information of, tips, tricks, all the fun stuff. So that's really what drew me to the whole tripod to begin with. And then listening to the various guests that all of the podcasts have. Maybe not so much 2 Titans and a Hunter because they don't very often have guests, but I'll say Not Arf has been a fantastic addition to their podcast for sure. Always looking forward to hearing him and what kind of lore he's going to be coming up with. But anyways, just hearing the variety, the backgrounds, and how everybody just kind of, is in some sort of a sense family away from family. All the way from giving Gator shit to just, I just connected, I guess we'll say. And so once I started getting inspired from that, I was like, maybe I should start streaming. Because, I mean, people can say that they've been a part of something as they watch somebody grow. Not that I got into it expecting, I'm going to be this big streamer. That's never why I got into it. But it was just more or less to share my experiences. Share maybe some good plays that I have made, maybe get opinions when I had made a wrong play of maybe what could have been done better, and really just trying to be open to constructive feedback and just trying to get better as a player, not even find because I'd already found, but I guess connect better with the community that we have. Now, as I got going, things changed a little bit just because I started seeing growth and I wanted to push that. And I did. and I pushed it to the point where I actually successfully got my first payout, which is now paying for my first 27-inch, 144 hertz, 1 millisecond refresh rate Dell monitor, gaming monitor, which is on the way. And I finally upgraded my RAM up to 16 gigs, which is nice. But since then, I'm kind of refocusing back to Destiny, and maybe I like having a backup first-person shooter that I can take a break from Destiny, but still be doing FPS stuff, so that way I can kind of still be engaged in that, I guess, mental state. I don't know about you guys, but one thing that I really like about Destiny is just going in there and shooting people.
Yeah.
And I have another backup game that's completely irrelevant to FPS altogether, but I mean, for the most part, I'll say 95% focused on Destiny and trying to get refocused back into being a part of Destiny. I'm considering starting my own Destiny podcast, but I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it differently. How can I do this uniquely, I guess, and stand out? I'm going to be doing it solo, as far as I'm aware, because I don't think I'm going to have a co-host. Sorry. So with being solo, I'm just really trying to make sure I get everything in place before I really pull the trigger. But I am actively working on that. And just trying to give back to this community that I feel like I've benefited quite a bit from. Like, I know for a fact that if I'm not in the best mental state, I can ring up Chris3711 anytime that I need and just talk to him. And not even just him, but anybody that is a part of this community. So why did I start streaming? I kind of started streaming because I wanted to have a platform or a plane where I could at least kind of hang out with you guys. That's kind of what got me started. What do I want to see from it? I mean, of course, once I get started, I'm pretty passionate about everything that I do. I try do everything the best that I possibly can, if you can't tell. So, of course, I pushed growth for a little while, but I'm going to be getting refocused, like I mentioned. And if I can, someday give back to this community. And that's what I'm looking to do.
Well, you already give back, sir. You always seem to have a positive attitude, even in just your writing in Discord. That's before we've even talked to you before. So I don't know. It's hard to explain what I'm saying, but just I can feel the positive attitude even through your words.
Thank you.
That's a good thing.
Indeed, and your give back already started, like, because you say how listening to me talk about things like helped you, but hilariously that as soon as you reached out to me to say that, like, meant a huge amount to me as well, and really helped me in return. So I thank you for that. Because,
dude, 100%. There's something powerful with, I believe the word I'm looking for is affirmation, or even acknowledgement. Somebody's out there and listening and not passing judgment, but understands. That just kind of makes you feel a lot better about things in general. So, I mean, for example, when I'm talking to someone and I'm upset, and all they say is, I understand, I'm sorry, I'm here for you. Those three things, I'm good.
That's right.
It's amazing, right? Yeah, I've learned that way later in my life, because I don't tend to want to talk things out. But then when I do, even with my wife, it's like, oh, wow, we didn't even have to say much, and it feels so much better,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, these are all, excellent things to talk about. I really appreciate it. And I wanted to say real quick, you talk about, thinking about doing a Destiny podcast, just go for it. I mean, it doesn't have to be extremely different than any of our podcasts. If it's just something, even if it seems similar, and if you like to do it and you want to do it, it's like, why not, And
I mean, the main thing that kind of wanted to get me into podcasting is one thing that I like about your guys' podcast and GDC and is the guest thing. And, Two Titans and Hunter as well, whenever they have a guest on. I just find something really interesting about getting to talk to people, get to know people, their story, what is behind that gamer tag. Like, that is something that I myself find very interesting, like hearing about and listening to from other people as well. And I mean, I'm sure you can even tell just from me having a conversation with you here today. It's something that I am very engaging with. And I think that I might have an opportunity, or at least maybe a talent for, is that engagement aspect. So, I mean, yes, I'm going to be doing it solo, but my idea is to do it with interviews. So that way it is a conversation and engaging for an audience to listen to. And yeah, that's just something that I have in mind that I'm working on. And yeah, just going to work on it piece by piece. And once I'm happy with it, then we're going to be opening up the floodgates for it. So
I like Kingsley's approach. Just go for it.
Yeah, definitely.
It'll be fine.
Definitely go for it. Like, if there was one piece of wisdom I can glean from my former co-host from RNG, Buster, is that as far as it concerns like podcasts and stuff, a lot of people might think of the content as a famine. You know, there's not enough to go around, but we try to more think of it as a feast. You know, come and sit down, let's have a chat. Which is one reason I do like really enjoy this community, because it's so many communities like working together.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
really great to see that ideal like in practice.
Yep. 100%. Couldn't
And
agree
you start
more.
a podcast, we'll talk about it. We're not going to be like, hey, man, there's
Would
another
that
one.
make
We
us
don't want anyone to know.
a? Right now we're a thruple. Would that make us a cruple?
Quadruple.
Quadruple?
I do have a name idea in mind. Could I share that with you guys?
Yeah, spin
Is it also thruple?
What the hell?
You got to trademark it first. Trademark it.
I was thinking of calling it Guardian's Ghost and GG's for short.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that.
Again, it kind of falls in line with my Halloween theme, ghosts, and we have ghosts, ghost shells, and it's kind of interesting that you could tell a narrative perspective from Guardian's ghost rather than from the Guardian himself. I just kind of thought that idea was very interesting. And GG's. Those two letters, to me, are the equivalent of two professional fighters handshaking after a sports match. It's a sign of respect, and it's, you know, Guardians Ghost GG's. It's a small thing, but to me, it has a big impact. So I was like, I'm gonna go with that.
Oh, thanks for that exclusive drop.
Y'all heard it here first.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
You're on the Guardian Hub, the best hub on the net.
Yeah. And that relates into, you know, you said you obviously like doing PvP in the game. I was kind of curious what you like to do in the game. You know, you can pick a few different things. What character is your favorite most of the time? And along with what you like to do in the game, what is something you'd like to see changed in the game?
You know, I play a lot of PvP, yes, but I'm not exclusive to just Crucible. I really enjoy... The thing that I love the most about this game is just playing with people, being in a party with people, and a lot of the times, yeah, that has to do with being PvP, whatever, but, like, I'm not above getting into a party to potato a raid and, you know, fall flat in my face and fail first couple of times. I have an understanding, a realistic understanding of when I may or may not do so well. So if I'm trying a raid for the first time, I'll just tell you up front, hey, I've never done this raid before, but I'm happy to get my reps in. If you're able to be patient with me, I'm more than happy to go through this with you. So much so that, you know, not just raids, but like even trials, for example. I'm just coming off a weekend where I earned 3 igneous hammers because I went in with my my hunter, I did the bounty, and then I actually was successful enough, thankfully, to get my 3 win. So I got to drop from there, and that was actually the very first time I actually enjoyed trials. I had fun with it. Like, I wasn't stressed at all. I was with people that weren't, I'll say, toxic in nature. We went in there knowing that we weren't going to win every single one. We weren't going in there to be sweats. We went in there to have a good time, and that's exactly what we did. And we walked out with good loot, and I had so much fun that I went on to my warlock, leveled him up so I could get just one more roll. So, and outside of that, like, The one thing that I struggle with is Gambit. It's not that I don't like Gambit. I think it's a lot better this season than it was last. The 3 rounds to Gambit infuriated me, and I know that's not a popular opinion out there, so please don't at me. I'm thinking of our clan leader. But anyways, I like what they've done with Gambit this season. I actually have a lot of fun playing Gambit on PC. Not so much on console for some reason. I don't know why. But I have a lot of fun on PC, not so much console. I started to enjoy Nightfalls. Again, and this all revolves around being in a party of people and just having fun and just chit-chatting while we're doing it, getting to know each other's play styles, trying to figure out who likes to be more of a support role, who likes to be more of an attack role, who's really pushing, or who's maybe doing an attack role from a distance. Is there certain mechanics, the communication part, who's going to do what? Let's communicate, get this done. And by the end of whatever you're trying to accomplish, the feeling of getting something done successfully within a community really brings people together. And I can give you a specific example. It wasn't so long ago that I was talking to a Mr. Kingsley Macklemore, and we were discussing doing Deep Stone Crypt on PC, and I said, you know what, I am down. And we went through and we completed the raid, and I think it was Hazel NT Anywheres and Everywheres that decided to join us at the end of that and said, I'd like to go through again. You guys had the checkpoint. Does anybody mind? I was like, frig yeah, let's bring Hazelnut through. So everybody got together. We all agreed. We did it again. And at the end of that raid, I managed to get My Eyes of Tomorrow. It exists.
Yes. Just barely.
Solid.
Right? For some people. Oh, man. Hey, I remember that. Yeah, that was definitely fun. I love what you're saying. I mean, I get what you're saying. It's like group ups. You don't even care so much the activity. It's about the experience with the people.
It's always community for me. Like, even as a streamer, I could care less about the game. If we're engaged in chat, having a good conversation, I will sit there in match and die until the match is over and just go into orbit and just chit chat with chat if that's what's going on. Like, I don't know. It's just community to me is more important than a game, but the game is the common denominating factor that brings that community together. And, it's kind of like hanging out. So, I mean, for example, I'd like to think that growing up, I may not have been the most popular person, which may have been a subsequential result of me making poor choices, getting to the point to where I'm at. So whenever I legitimately connect with an individual, what you see is what you get. I'm not capable of BSing anybody, and it's just that connection. That's really that's the most important to me.
I hear you. All right. Any other quick questions for Sweaty before we go on to some other Destiny news? And we'll keep this conversation going for sure. It's just been a pleasure so far talking to you. I mean, we already kind of knew you, of course, but it was been meaning to get you on the podcast. Sorry, it's taken a while.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good. Life happens, and, well, that's life.
Well, you're here now, and it's the best current episode that we have.
Hey, yes, sir.
Aren't they all current, Kingsley?
Hey, it's the best. It's the best episode we currently have.
This is for sure.
On the best hub on the net.
On the best hub on the net. Yeah, look at that.
Technically, it's the best guest on the net.
Cool, yes.
I like it.
Well, yeah, let's just talk a little bit about Destiny. Now, first, before we get into some Destiny news, we have our own news to share with you from DesRaven. Take it away, sir.
Well, in short, sweet, and simple, I did a thing, finally.
Finally,
because I know, right? It took a while, and to be honest, like I had the wind taken out of my sails a bit. But I mentioned on a podcast weeks ago, probably, that I would probably be starting the spreadsheet that I had long ago back. And yeah, so I started doing that. And then very shortly after that, we got news that sunsetting was over. So it's like, well, crap, that's kind of like my point of doing this again. It's like, you could visualize easily like the sunset weapons, but that's not a thing. But I ended up deciding, screw it. I took a couple days this week, sacrificed game nights, and finally finished out the sheets properly. So yeah, that's going to be once again an available resource, and will be drastically easier to maintain than to catch up after. Just to tell you, like the work I went through, all of my information stopped at season 5.
Season 5,
yeah.
Just after you. Well, I guess they were a few seasons, but in season 2 or year 2, right?
Yeah. Basically, the last thing I had played and updated was Black Armory.
Okay.
And then of course, shortly after that is when I lost internet, and then it came back, and I was just like, I mean, for the Saint 14 season, I was so like almost overwhelmed by all the crap I could do now. So, I mean, there's my excuse there, and then I just didn't because, holy crap, it's a lot of information. Like, oh my god. But yeah, and by the time this episode goes live, I will have it posted on my Twitter, as it customarily stays, and is kind of became the primary reason I even have Twitters, to have that pinned tweet. But yeah, it's there. It's going to be available, and I know of at least one person, High Burning, that is very happy to have it back. Apparently,
and it has a name too.
Yeah, how do you pronounce this? I want to make sure I say it right.
And I'm going to tell you my thought after you give us pronunciation.
That is the Hephaestus Index,
and it sounds something just like out of Diablo 3.
Well, the hilarious thing is, it actually is an in-universe reference for Destiny. Back in Warmind, there was an adventure that had you go after Braytek's Hephaestus Index, which was a catalog of all of their weapons and development plans and such. It was a catalog of weapons, essentially. So yeah, I decided to go with. I mean, it's had some weird traditional names through its iterations, including Burning's favored, because he suggested it years back, Bird Rock. But yeah, I decided, like I said, to go with a more nerdy name for it, which I have. Yes, which is also the. I think in Roman mythology he was Vulcan, but Hephaestus is the Greek version of him, and who was the god of the forge, essentially, for the Greeks. He made weapons. He made Zeus's thunderbolts. He made. Actually, that could also potentially be the Cyclopses. But anyway, sorry.
But like you said, it's a catalog of weapons for those that aren't even familiar with your database. Just in real basic terms, you want to say anything else about what that means, or? All the weapons, right? And different.
Yeah, it's
stats.
All of the weapons. It is their base, mostly stats. I know the main doc tries to explain. Of course, I'm not great at explaining everything, but yeah, it's just a place just a simple place, because I mean, since I've started this spreadsheet, I mean, there's been a lot of like really great websites to come up. We had some decent ones when the spreadsheet was around, but navigating them could have been somewhat of a hassle, especially trying to compare different weapons to one another. But yeah, and they've gotten a lot better now, but still, it's minimal. It's just the text. It's a bunch of numbers. They're side by side. There is a visual representation that kind of compares stats to one another within a very simple color gradient, which I was very happy back in the day to discover Google Sheets has a color scale option for a filter that just does that automatically, because there was a time I did that manually.
Oh boy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it must be a lot better now.
Yeah, because all I have to do is like select a range of cells and go color scale. This color for the lowest, this color for the highest. There we go. So yeah, but yeah, within the first like 1 or 2 iterations, I was actually manually, like within stat ranges, like, okay, you're that color because you're this far away from that weapon, and you're that far away from that weapon, so you're that color. It was a nightmare. But yeah, so it's there are essentially 3 main sheets that are just like massive comparisons of all weapons, divided, of course, by ammo type for the most part, except for the exceptions. Like, hand cannons are primary ammo, but you're still going to find Ariana's Vow in that section because it's a hand cannon, even though it's not primary. But anyway, but those exceptions are there. But yeah, they're all compared to one another, and then a little below are, or if you're looking at the dock or whatever, just below those, all comparisons are legendary comparisons, where it knocks out all the fluff and filler, no exotics, no whites, blues, greens, nothing, just legendaries. And then if you really want a truly sad experience, I have what I call the meta comparisons, which are no sunset weapons, just legendaries.
And I really like that. I think that's one of the best features of this, everyone. Like you mentioned in here, it doesn't mean meta like popular, most what people are using. It just means available good weapons that are up to date, that aren't sunset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like I said, it's very tragic to look at some of the empty archetypes, because yeah. But hey, you can like I said, you can very easily see, like, you like weapon class, like you want a rapid fire auto rifle for trials, or Iron Banner, or whatever. That's going to be where the meta comparisons really come in handy. For example, or you're trying to take on a Grandmaster Nightfall, and you want a good hand cannon or bow or whatever. Again, that's where the meta tags will give you your options, and from there you can look at the base stats, look at the comparisons, and judge for yourself basically how you want to use and how they feel. Because again, I first started freaking, it was just before Taken King. It was around the time Taken King was announced, I believe, is when I first started on. It was like one of my first big projects on YouTube, even, is just like weapon comparison things. And that's when I realized, like, you know what, like, stats do a thing in this game. Like, the weapons that feel better have better stats. Huh. So yeah, and that's pretty much what started this whole ordeal back just before Taken King. So yeah. And then, of course, Burning Holden, and I'm wanting to say somebody else, but I can't remember who. As I kept mentioning the sheet that I had, that I would, it was like my cheat sheet, essentially. And they're like, well, why don't you do and like put it out for people to read? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
And I'm taking a look at this right now, DesRaven, and one thing that I really enjoy that you've done with this, you've even included a current source of, I guess, where you would ideally find it.
Indeed.
Very detailed. Well done, sir.
Yeah, that's pretty much my one still clinging claim to the relevancy of my sheet, is just an easy to find source. Because while, yes, like a lot of sites are better about comparing and things like that, there's still not a great site to really effectively tell you where to find something now. Not at least all the time. So that is one thing. As long as there's a current source, I'll keep it updated. I know I've gotten a little lazy about certain things, like former exotic quests, or former exotics that had quests that are no longer active now. I don't label them anymore because that would just take more time. But also, one note and one very new feature that took me pretty much a whole extra day to do. I say whole extra day, but it was a couple hours. Is the exotics in the primary sheets. Because I decided to actually use the full exotic stats since they don't have a choice in what you use. So those are all of their stats with everything active, and then the orange bits with the copyright symbol, because I saw that and thought perfect, are catalyst information. If their catalyst changes their stats, that's what the orange bits are for. And the source on the orange bits, but the source on the orange bits are where you can get that catalyst. So, yeah. Which I know is fairly questionable information. At least not always very wide known. Like, where can I get catalyst blank? Well, I pretty much trust the source of information I found, so it should be accurate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, excellent. Thank you for taking your time on this. I mean, I'm sure people will find it useful.
Oh, yeah, and definitely thanks to Burning Wing, who was my beta tester for this entire sheet, and let me know immediately that my previous design for the spreadsheet was broken in dark mode. Like, nothing looked good, nothing looked right. Yeah, so I had to completely redesign my old color schemes to be able to switch from dark and light mode, depending on what you use for Google Sheets. It will now make sense. Gotcha. Except for white rarity weapons, which will appear black in dark mode. Because
but what can you do about that, right?
Exactly. I mean, I can, unless I just wanted them all to be gray, but then it would mix in with the sunset weapons, which are also gray. And so, yeah, I just decided to let that slide, and it doesn't bug me that much. So, yeah. But yes, so they are dark mode friendly. Hopefully. Yeah. For the most part. With only slight weirdness.
Well, everyone check that out and let us know your thoughts on it, and give Des
feedback is always appreciated.
Appreciation for that, and feedback if you have it.
I was just going to add that this is definitely up to date, because I'm taking a look in the hand cannon section, and I'm noticing a bottom dollar in there, as well as an igneous hammer. So you could say that's current, 100%.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely, I usually try not to let it, like, once I keep it up to date, because hilariously the most painful part of, like, every time I redo a spreadsheet or I go back and, like, because a new stat was found that I thought was a thing when I first started updating the spreadsheet, which was a bounce intensity. That wasn't around before, like in the sites or anywhere. So that was a bit of new information to me. So one reason I redid the spreadsheet is to include that stat for the guns. I finished a few. I think I finished like auto rifles and hand cannons, and then I decided to look up what does bounce intensity even do, and that's when I found out it's a nothing stat. Its bounce intensity is literally just the inverted side of recoil direction. Because recoil direction slides, if your gun has a recoil direction of 75, it's going to have a bounce intensity of 25. But if your recoil direction goes up to 95, then your bounce intensity is going to drop down to 5. So it's not pertinent information, but it did include the bounce directions, which I always think is kind of useful information to have like a heads up of, which way does this gun actually kick? So, yeah. I kept that in there at the very least, but as far as bounce intensity itself.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Well, once I learned about it, it's like, oh, that's what that is. Which also hilariously led me down a slight rabbit hole to learn exactly what recoil direction is and basically how it works. Because I was way off in my earlier thoughts. But yeah. TLDR on that one is basically if you have a gun with a recoil direction that ends in the number 5 or caps out at 100, it will shoot vertically. Guaranteed. Or it will kick vertically as you shoot. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I remember seeing that discussion. That is interesting.
Yeah, because there's recoil. I have a new respect for that stat. I have a new hatred of whoever programmed it, but I have a new respect for that stat because it almost works more like binary. It's so weird because, like I said, every number that ends in 5 will shoot vertically, but if the first digit is odd or even, dictates if it kicks to the left or to the right, and then the further or closer it is from that 5, dictates how hard it kicks to the left or to the right. So it's very confusing.
Interesting. And then what does the first number mean then? Just
how
far apart?
No, it's basically the closer you get to 100, the tighter the grouping is.
Okay.
But yeah, in the 10 slot, if it's I want to say if it's odd, it kicks to the left, but if it's an even number in the 10 slot, it's going to kick to the right.
Yeah. Okay.
So the 10 slot dictates left or right. The single slot dictates exactly how hard to that direction it kicks. And if you're at, and I think also every number from 95 to 100 will kick vertically, but your grouping gets smaller and smaller the closer you get to 100. But there's also, because going through and writing it all down, I noticed there are some exceptions to the rule. I'm thinking with especially the precision frame stuff that says it has more vertical or more predictably vertical recoil, but it still follows the rule. If it's a 5, it's going to kick vertically. So that's the easiest I can actually explain without knowing everything.
Sure, yeah. Well, it'll be something we'll for sure keep in mind. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk a little bit of Destiny of what's going on right now. We don't have to, as always, we don't necessarily focus on the whole TWAB, but we should pull this up here and see what we feel is interesting coming up. So I don't know if you have that pulled up, Des.
I did at one point in time.
I know, I'm pulling it up too. I mean, I
think I looked up something else.
We see that Iron Banner's coming next week. Whatever, that was already on the calendar too.
Yep.
Now we have a funny back and forth with the calendar versus the in-game. Now, speaking of that, in-game, did they say which Nightfall's coming next week? I think they did, right?
They probably did, but I didn't pay attention to it.
I didn't either. That's what I was saying. Didn't you see that when you logged in tonight?
Is it going to be the same as a Grandmaster? Because I'm looking at it right now.
I think it could be the Grandmaster.
So the Grandmaster says Grandmaster kicked off with a trip to the Devil's Lair.
Well, that's this week.
Okay. Familiar foe in Suffix Prime. Sorry, I'm just quickly trying to read through it.
Isn't it going to be the new one? Because they have the new strike coming this week anyway. So it would only make more sense for them to make that one the primary focus.
Well,
but I want to say
this Tuesday is the strike for the season pass owners.
Yeah, not everyone.
Yeah. So if that one's going to be the Nightfall, it's probably going to be next week when it's available to everyone.
True
I want
story.
to say I heard it's the Cabal one on the Earth. I think you were mentioning that. Sen.
Arms dealer.
Arms dealer, yeah. But I do not know. So we
exactly what
we
it's
may
gonna
not
be.
always have the most up to date information for you, but on that one, who cares? You'll know by the time this episode
Yeah,
comes
no,
out.
right.
I was
Just
curious myself.
see Guardian down and 2 Titans and a Hunter of our thruple. We'll have that up to date information ready for you.
Which again, of course, by the time you hear this, you can just see it in the game.
Right. You probably ran it a couple times.
Yeah.
Iron Banner's coming back. Bonus Valor, though. That's always good info. Good info. Good info.
Yes.
Jesus. I wanted to say, don't they mainly time these bonus valors with Iron Banner now?
Well, it would make
Seems like every time we have an Iron Banner, we have bonus. I mean, it does. But it seems like every time we have an Iron Banner, it's also coincides with bonus valor, which that makes sense to me, but I could be crazy. In fact, most people say I am, so, whatever.
Let's just say you're correct on this.
Yeah, I mean, I spent like 12 working hours updating spreadsheets, so that's a minimum. But yeah, the very interesting Eyes of Tomorrow was busted, apparently. TLDR on this. Well, TLDR on this entire section. They added bad luck protection to Eyes of Tomorrow, so that way it hopefully wouldn't be such a harsh grind to get it.
Right in the ass. You mean,
what?
That you said it wouldn't be a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. Wouldn't you get it?
No, not that quick. But it took me a couple. But still, it wasn't my first one. Like 1K. I mean, 1K. That was
I know.
Like,
when
perfect.
you get them like first, second time, every time it's like, oh my gosh, I 5 times and I just barely got it. Boo.
But yeah, so they added bad luck protection. But sadly, they put it in essentially a wrong column because bad luck protection was supposed to apply to your account. Instead, bad luck protection was applying to individual characters, so it wasn't accumulating properly, or it wasn't reading your accumulation properly. But the good news is they're going to be consolidating all of everyone's raid clears and using that as a base number for this bad luck protection value. It will eventually reach 100%. They do say, so you will definitely eventually get it.
This time for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Watch, we see on our Discord stats bot this next week, tons of people getting it.
Right.
Because it is going to count, like you said, the previous ones, and now supposedly count better the real way.
So yeah, banner. I do like this talk though. Of course, I started like going through crap in my head already. Because they do have a little section that is essentially a fantasy fight. Like who would win between a Vex Wyvern and a Taken Captain? My money's on Vex Wyvern, by the way, because screw those things.
Yeah, I think that would be a safe bet.
The wise words of Elamist, the Thyvern.
Sin has bad luck against those wyverns, so I think he can appreciate a wyvern winning.
Yeah, it's I mean, and hilariously, it's not even as Cosmo dubs it in the TWAB, the yeet attack. God, I sounded unnecessarily old when I said that. Oh, jeez. Anyhow, but yeah, so that's not even like their most lethal part. That main weapon of theirs is brutal. It's murdered me so many times. Just because it hurts. That and that one, I think, the legendary Lost Sector, not the master one. Legendary, I think, is the easier one, yeah?
Yes, Legend's the easier one.
Yeah. I think some of my first attempts at clearing those for the exotic drops were in the Europa Lost Sector. It starts off with a bunch of like harpies. There's a Hydra you chase to take down a shield. Then you climb some stairs, and there's like freaking 2 of them in this like middle room. And yeah, that's freaking brutal.
I'll have to be contrarian and say I'm voting for the Taken Captain. I just have some memories of taking captains just in pretty difficult situations, from boss at the end of the Whisper mission to think about all the way back that D1 side quest in the Cosmodrome on patrol. You had to get that special heroic vision of patrol, and that captain was like super crazy hard. So
yeah, you got a good point. Because especially like because those darkness blasts, I mean, you get up on a high enough difficulty, those things can take like half your freaking health. It is no fun.
And they teleport around like crazy, and they look cool too. Not that the wyverns don't look cool. Actually, it's been, we have to talk for a second. It's pretty amazing they came up with a new model for a Vex.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of like, it's cool, but we really don't talk about it that much. And
no, I love it. I love like everything they've done with it. The fact that it has these tendrils that essentially it's like a support bot, because it'll like flare out these tendrils that you can't shoot through. So,
is there any wyverns in Vaulted Glass? They almost better be.
Potentially, that could actually make the Templar encounter, or at least the Oracle's encounter, an absolute nightmare if they replace Minotaurs with wyverns. Just think about that, Jesus.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I'm going to have a very interesting perspective when Vault of Glass comes out, because like I mentioned, I did not get to experience D1 when it was a thing. So where most people already have their strats in place, they know what to expect. Me, I'm going in there blind. I don't know anything about this. So I'm excited to learn, and I'm excited to be engaged with this most legendary raid that I keep hearing about.
Well, just because we have our strats from before, they could be totally thrown out the door. Even though they say they're going to keep it somewhat the same, we never know what's going to happen.
Similar, but the challenges or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then they do mention the fact that Vault can be very different, considering our weapon space is entirely different, which was one thing I was saying. The nightmare about restarting the spreadsheet is the fact that Destiny 2 started as a primary game. Like, I don't know how many people really actively remember, like, shotguns and snipers used to be power weapons.
Oh, yeah.
So, like,
I did forget that.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's, like, especially at the start until Forsaken, like, there's twice as many primaries as any other weapon type, and it's a nightmare. But anyhow, but yeah, now that they shifted away from that, I mean, our entire arsenal is way more flexible than it used to be in D1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good lord, Taniks was a double special heavy like tactic for the longest time, because it's probably still optimal TPS, but it's ridiculous that that's like the go-to for a raid boss, is to run 2 special weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, just imagine like a couple people being able to run 2 specials on like Templar. I mean, from D1 Templar, I mean, that's going to be like nothing. Get people running the right 2 snipers and an MG to take care of ads. I can almost trivialize Templar, like a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I went back in a D1 raid grouping the other night, and we did all the raids except for Crota. And I do have to admit that I still love the arena and the play space and the exploration aspect of Vault, but the encounters aren't that interesting and certainly not that hard. So I'm kind of curious to see what will happen, for us when it comes back.
We're getting close. We're only, half a season away?
Yes. We are getting close.
Yeah, because we're getting Bolton Transmog next season. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's coming.
Because the season after that is crossplay, if I remember right.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sin, live update. What are you doing in the game? Playing
just some Gambit. I still have to finish out the 5 infamy ranks from the prior week. So I'm just mindlessly clicking buttons right now.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate ya.
Mindless clicking. Updates. I mean, I feel like it should be more interesting, but I don't really think there's much for me to do at this point. I mean, I finished the story mission early on in the podcast. That went pretty quick. Apparently, I did pick it up. I know we talked a little bit before. Did I actually pick it up or not? I did. I was almost done. And I finished almost everything else at this point. That I need a Grandmaster, which y'all are going to help me do after this, right?
Ooh, I'm not. What about you, Sweat? Are you excited to do those at all? Are you leveled up yet for that?
For what, sorry?
Grandmasters.
Oh, that's not happening for me yet. I think my max level right now is, you know what? I got dim up here. 1312. Yeah, I took a little bit of a break for a little bit of time just because I needed to get a little refocused on some IRL stuff, mainly work, because if you can imagine, with us making COVID test kits, we're maybe busy right now. Yeah, I just took a little bit of a break just to kind of recenter myself for a while, and I've recently jumped back in, trying to get to my pinnacle grind, so I'm looking forward to Lord Saladin's return this week. But do I think I'm ready right now? No. May I in about a week? Maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Grandmasters are something that I didn't think I was interested in at all, but some people were talking about them this last week, and I may try to jump into it next week if I can get high enough.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because as I mean, like I said, I could have sworn I read the information straight out of the 12, but Adept mods are indeed dropping in Grandmaster Nightfalls, so that was pretty much my only hesitancy in not doing them. So, yeah. Because a majority of those Adept mods are going to be very useful. There's a few that won't, that I don't see being as useful. Predominantly like Adept Magazine, Adept Recoil, I believe it was. Because it's like an extra 10 that helps your recoil direction, but it takes like 20 away from your handling, which I don't feel is worth it. Then there's like Adept Aim Assist or Adept Targeting or whatever they're calling it, which adds plus 10 to your aim assist, but takes away like 20 stability. So, not so point either. But of course, I guess the talk of the town is the Adept Big Ones mod. Which isn't anything, right? But it isn't anything super special, but it basically combines boss spec and major spec into one mod.
PvE, huh?
Oh yeah, 100%. And from what reports are saying, Adept Big Ones can only drop from Grandmaster Nightfalls, which makes sense considering that's where it's going to help. And then, like most of the other basic stat mods, like Adept Range, Adept Stability, they're going to add like plus 10 to that stat. So nothing super far out there, but still at the same time can be very helpful in getting a weapon to kind of narrow in on that feel you'd like.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah.
So, has anybody gotten any Adept weapons of any kind yet? Just out of curiosity.
No. I have.
That's
I'm
a
not.
no for me either. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not high enough to attempt Grandmaster.
He didn't smoke enough to
no.
get there.
I was lucky enough. Well, because I'm a Twitch streamer, I support other streamers as well, right? I don't have other guardians. I guess I'll say that I could immediately just message that are willing to go through the trials hurt with me. So I took a chance and I went into a Twitch streamer who was doing a raffle. And I ended up winning the raffle to get a carry. So I went through it with them, and it was a lot of fun, by the way. But by the time we got to the end, I had gotten the adept version of the messenger with some pretty decent rolls. What rolls did I get? Let me just bring up Dim here right quick. So the rolls I got were Hammerforge Rifling, Flared Magwell Killing Wind, and One for All on a Range Masterwork, which is pretty decent. But the adept mod that I got was Increased Blast Radius. Wah, wah, wah. That sucked.
Ooh.
And that was also the first. I think that was on the 5-win. You got Igneous Hammer, and my first drop of Igneous Hammer had Celerity and Subsistence.
Celery.
Yeah. I was like, well, the messenger is good. Everything else is hot garbage.
Hey, but
Lord,
then it gets you to want to play some more, hopefully, to get a different roll.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, yeah, and apparently news is in, now that they had Igneous as the 3-win, this has been peak Trials population.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I was going to say that.
Since its start.
When I went into Trials, I was expecting pure pain. And I was pleasantly surprised. Like, yes, I got those matches that were painful, but, like, it wasn't so bad. It really wasn't. It was no different than going into the comp playlist. And I think that incentive of the Igneous kind of really pulled a lot of variety of people in there. And anytime that I was looking at the LFG posts, it would say, like, there's 1,500 LFG posts. And I guarantee if you go in right now, at least on Xbox, if you go in right now to see how many LFG posts there are on a slow day, anywhere between 400 to 600 active. So that should just kind of put into perspective that, yeah, there was definitely a higher population, making it a lot more enjoyable. And I mean, yes, on your very first encounter, you come across those teams that are just jumping off the map. It's a free win. But typically, if they've won a match, you're not coming up against that on your second.
Yeah.
But, you know, the other team that you might come up against may have also encountered someone jumping off the map, so they got a free win. I found it not too painful to get to the 3-win. I mean, yes, it was challenging, but it felt like the difficulty that Trials was
originally intended for. Now, beyond 3 wins, that's a different story. But
I could kind of see, okay, maybe this is what they had originally envisioned, and it's not so bad right now. And like I said, it was the first time I actually enjoyed Trials, which in the entirety of Destiny that I've been playing, I've not enjoyed it until then.
Sin, let's hop in. Okay, we got to end the podcast.
Trials.
And
I also see breaking news. Some people on our Discord just went flawless. That one guy and that other guy. Now, who does that mean?
It's all because of that reduced Arbalist aim assist.
that one guy and that other guy. That's I think that's Kato and Lumina, yeah?
Yeah, pretty sure.
I get exactly which one's which confused, but yeah.
Wait, no, that one guy is honest.
Oh, no, that one guy. That's right.
And then
so
that
it was
other
just honest
guy,
and Lumina.
Yeah, okay. And that guy, and hey, you guys, and so many different.
Yes, I got I laughed so much when I saw hey, you guys. It was like the perfect culmination of this whole guy thing that I never envisioned. And then I saw it and I was like, oh god, this is perfect. This is like the peak. It's not getting any better than this.
So is
which
there
was
a
hilarious.
guy yet?
But it's funny because I wanted to see how like pervasive it could become, because I had been that guy for a while, and I think me and Lumina were talking, and because of our similarities, it's like, well, what would happen if he would have, like, it would become confusing if he was just like that other guy. Then you have that guy and that other guy, but which one are you talking to? Because it's just that guy and that other guy. And yeah, then he finally changed it up, and it just caught like wildfire after like a week, and it was just so happy just seeing how subversive it became. And like I said, the culmination was just like perfect payoff.
Perfect.
Because of course, when I saw that name, I of course envisioned Chunk. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I heard it in my head. It's just like, oh.
Yeah, I don't even know why that came to mind for me too, but yeah, and then once that did, I was like, okay, I got to do that, and I got to get a picture also that I can match.
The only tragedy is there are some people that just won't realize.
Mm-hmm.
Or go watch the Goonies.
Go watch
it's great.
The Goonies.
God. Oh, geez. But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, but yeah, a lot of these talks about the population spike on trials. I've seen a couple posts, and it made me realize that that's primarily the main difference between D1 and D2 trials. Back in D1, we had 2 gold bounties that we could do daily. And completing those bounties gave you a random weapon and a random armor piece. And it seems that's just the primary thing that's separating the loot incentive between the 2 iterations of Destiny. Because all we have is, we have now at least the 3-win bounty, but we're still missing, the armor, the drop, the whatever other drop. You can essentially get stuff just for playing trials by D1 a little easier than you can now. So, and like I said, it's seeming that's kind of just the thing that's missing.
It totally
so
is.
Give us our bounties back, Bungie. God. Even though I don't really like saying that because it makes me sound like Gator.
No, this is different. This is different. And we have the Adept for Flawless. You can even, have ornaments for armor if you really want to for Flawless, but they need to rain the loot on people a little bit more to hop in for, this random bounty thing I like,
Yeah, and that's and that's the thing, because again, I've always been a proponent of the difficulty of trials. But I do realize when I was mentioning that, it was basically as trials as a whole. I wasn't really considering the entry point of trial, the 3 wins, basically, which definitely shouldn't be like the Everest mountain climb that it tends to be now. If we just had incentive to get the stuff, because I remember in D1, I still didn't we did trials often because bounties. But we still never hit like that 3-win mark extraordinarily often. It was fairly common-esque, depending upon like who I would team up with, and then beyond that was just an entire crapshoot. But yeah, so it's just like I said, I never really considered that entry point. That basically the 3-win pool, or up to that, probably shouldn't be that much different than your regular Crucible experience. Now, I'm still a huge proponent of, like I said, the higher you go the more difficult it basically needs to become, because, again, if you're not good at PvP, you shouldn't expect to get, like, the good loot from PvP, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, personally, I'm completely okay with that separation. Like, and if I can't get my power level up enough to do, like, Grandmasters, or I can't pull that off, that's on me. I mean, you know? So, I don't know. That's just my weird perspective, in which the Jedi are not evil, just to let you know.
It sounds good. I think we can agree with that.
Speaking of Jedi, we need to discuss at some point.
Oh, God.
Because I did finish WandaVision, and I also finished the new Justice League, and I watched the first Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Ooh, I want to hear you. Okay. Yeah, we can talk about it briefly. I mean, we're pushing 2 hours, so let's wrap up with that. I do want to hear your opinion on did you watch all of the Justice League, the HBO Snyder?
I did. It took me 2 months. 2 nights. It took me 2 nights. I started last night and finished at 2 a.m. And then after I got home from work tonight, I finished the other hour. It's definitely very interesting. I think a lot of the story points were a little slow. I like how they broke it down into sections, though. I call them bite-sized chunks. Now, I was a little confused because, honestly, I didn't watch. I guess there's a precursor to this that shows where Superman is no more. Or
I mean, that was Batman v Superman, yeah. Dawn of
I
Justice.
didn't see that. Just to be honest with you, so I was a little confused about that. But
You're not missing out on a lot. Trust me.
I do like that they tied that into it, even though I didn't see it myself.
Oh yeah,
I do like how they tied it into it. I thought that was nice.
Had you watched the original Justice League?
No, I have not.
Okay, and I haven't.
Okay,
so I don't have anything to compare it against. But what did you think about the Wonder Woman fight scene at the beginning?
The Wonder Woman fight scene
in the bank or whatever, the bad guy he was going to shoot.
Oh yeah, that was a little. I honestly didn't understand the point of that in context of the rest of the movie.
Okay, but I guess did you like it? I liked it. I thought it was
okay. It was okay. I think I like how they did the high pace or high or the quickness as far as her movement and like blocking the bullets. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty cool. And then she yeeted the guy out the window.
There's the word again.
Yeah. Got to be hip with it. Yeah. Just eat it.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I need to finish watching that. I figured since I have it on HBO, I might as well give that a try.
Exactly.
Which I will say, also, now that you've finished WandaVision, very crucial information for you to know. The Darkhold. That, I mean, I'm going to say spoilers, but it really doesn't matter because hopefully everyone that listens has seen it by now. In the end credit scene, you see Wanda just casually reading through the Darkhold.
No, well, you saw that, but it looked like because she was outside like right before that, was she not?
Yeah, there's an entire it could the outside could be an illusion. People are thinking she's astral projecting, but if you're astral projecting, not even Doctor Strange could move while he was astral projecting, so that would suggest that she's already more powerful than Doctor Strange, which is just no bueno in my book. But no, so yeah, there's a little iffy context of what's happening exactly there. But again, the most important thing is the fact she's reading the Darkhold.
Yes.
This is a book in the Marvel universe. This is like the most evil book in the Marvel universe. That reading one spell can basically put you under the influence of an ancient deity. And she's just flipping through these pages. Just saying. Just putting that out there.
I mean, she's already under control then, right?
Well, there's an entire... I don't think it's going to connect directly, but in the comics, she's actually connected to this force. an ancient god called Cthon, who is the god of chaos. You can kind of think of them somewhat similar to the Titans in Greek mythology. They were like really ancient beings. They become corrupted. In fact, Gaia was Chthon's sister, but she like kept her mind about her, so she had to banish the other elder gods. So Chthon isn't in this realm anymore, and the Darkhold is his book that like tethers him to, like tethers his influence to our world still in the comics. Like, still not 100% like exactly how much they're going to bring forth from the comics, but still, it's not good news that she's just, turning those pages like it's Encyclopedia Britannica.
Right.
Do you think she'll be like an anti-hero in an upcoming?
My theory is she's going to cause the bad things to happen in Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't she already the anti-hero of this? This series anyway, because she had all those people under control. So she really wasn't a hero per se.
Well, this entire series is more of a morally gray area anyway, because of the subject matter that they pulled from. Things like House of M, which House of M was a way weirder story than this was, if we really want to be honest. But yeah, it's the fact that a lot of what she did was actually subconscious, which is again miraculous, all things considering. But yeah, it's a lot of questions, like where did the White Vision go, and why is she just flipping through the freaking Darkhold, and so many things. What's going to happen to our new superhero? Like, I just love the fact that we actually get a new superhero out of this story, which definitely is a comic book inspired character. Spectrum, I think, was her name in the comics. Which hilariously, she was the Carol Danvers aside, she like her character in the comics was actually the first female to wear the mantle of Captain Marvel. So there's that. So I really like the fact that we're getting her. But yeah.
Excellent.
Too nerdy.
No, it's any shows you watch at all, even if it's not these shows, Sweaty? Like anything you like?
Oh yeah, I got Netflix up here now. I was like, what do I watch? I figured it was coming around. One show that I've been absolutely binge watching lately is a show on Netflix called Marco Polo. It's self-explanatory. I'm sure everybody's already heard the story by now, but it's a show that's been on Netflix for a while that I've always skipped past and just recently started watching. Let's see. There was another good one that for some reason the show reminded me of Des. I wasn't sure if it was something that he'd even like or not, but it's a show called Kingdom, which is basically, I guess you could call it the idea of zombies in old China, which I actually thought was a really good show. I binge watched that entire series. There's 2 seasons. And then there was another show that I binge watched called Age of Samurai Battle for Japan. I don't know. I just have a genuine interest, I guess, in historical, Asian culture, if that makes sense. So like the Japanese and Mongolia and all that fun stuff. I don't know. It's just very interesting history that I have an interest in. But outside of that, there was another one that's also on Netflix called The Lost Pirate Kingdom, which is basically a show with documentary elements, I guess, that kind of explore the origin of what it was to be a pirate of the Caribbean, and how that all originated and started. I know that recently my wife finished watching Vikings, which I did watch with her at one point, but it was a while ago, and I don't really quite remember everything, so I might watch that one again. And there's also Inside the World's Toughest Prisons. I always find that kind of documentary type stuff pretty interesting. And outside of all of that, I am a absolute Star fan. It could be Star Trek, Stargate, Star Wars, you name it. favorite Star Trek is The Next Generation with Jean-Luc Picard, Mr. Patrick Stewart. And
Nice.
if you haven't seen it, I definitely suggest watching Star Trek Picard, the newer one. They're currently in production for season 2, so I'm very excited for that to come out. It's a little handful of what I like to watch.
Oh, thanks. Now the pirate one sounds really interesting too. The origin of the pirates in the Caribbean area. So,
yeah, that's
I
interesting.
also just recently finished watching the entirety of Stargate Sg1. Probably one of my favorite series to watch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you seen? Have you seen what was it called? Stargate Universe, I believe.
I have not yet. I know that's one of the more, I'll say, modern, I guess, Stargates.
Well, it was the newest. It has a tragic story.
Yeah, I think I watched a movie that was derived from that series called Catherine. If you know anything about Stargate and the main SG1 characters, there was a certain individual that Dr. Daniel Jackson was really connected to, and her name was Catherine, and we originally knew her just as an old lady. So the movie Catherine really explores the origin, her origin, I guess, and how humanity had discovered the Stargate to begin with, and the current state of the world as it was whenever they had located it. So, I mean, that involved a little bit of Nazi Germany and all that kind of fun, interesting fantasy stuff. But
fantastic.
Yeah, I thought it was a really great movie.
excellent.
Excellent, Smithers.
Well, before we start slowly wrapping up, any other things on your mind, Sweaty? Destiny, life, anything?
Yes and no, not really. It's I'm looking forward to seeing what our supposed promised destiny is supposed to be like come season 15. I'm a little disappointed that we have to wait so long, but at the same time, what have we really to expect from Bungie? I mean, that's the way it's always been. At the very least, they're doing a fantastic job with rolling out changes as they're more urgent, I guess. And they even left a couple of things around for people to enjoy, such as your 12-man raids. So I think that they're really more attuned to their audience right now. Perhaps this might even be a bold statement, perhaps not popular, but more than they've ever been. Just looking at the information that we have around us and the current information that we have. So if they're starting to listen to their audience presently, more so that they are, then season 14 and 15, I definitely look forward to seeing what's to come. Now, there was one more thing that I wanted to note about the TWAB. If you scroll to the bottom of the TWAB, they actually hand-selected a certain individual who did a quick sketch inspired by Season of the Plague. Now, I've been absolutely engulfed with the conspiracies behind the idea of Season of the Plague because I just would love to see that, and I'm very curious as to what our next 2 subclasses of darkness are going to be. So I obviously can't say for certain, but the fact that Bungie hand-selected an art piece inspired by Season of the Plague and put it up on the TWAB is kind of pulling me in the direction of keyword hope that they might even be considering it. And all it is just it looks like a Siva reference, and it's quoted, "What if Exotech was not the only one that was originated from darkness during the Golden Age?" They pulled this from a Twitter post by an individual named Stellar State Logic. It's on their TWAB near the bottom if anybody else is curious to where to find it or what I'm referencing. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting and just kind of driving into my own conspiracy theories.
Oh, thanks for mentioning that. I did see something about this on Twitter, and I didn't really put 2 and 2 together, of it being in the TWAB here too. And I do appreciate that. It does make you wonder, like, now is Bungie the type of studio where a lot of people wouldn't want to have almost anything like this because they don't want to confirm or deny,
Yeah.
But by posting this, is it just tongue in cheek? I kind of think that could be their style, tongue in cheek. It doesn't mean that this season would ever come, or could it actually be a hint?
Exactly.
I mean, that, and this season, the Plague logo does use the Devil Splicer SIVA logo, as well as the SIVA node right there, which hilariously might be a conspiracy theory, but also can be entirely possible, considering Braytech had a hand in SIVA, which was originally designed, of course, to help the colonists wherever planet, or the Exodus project, wherever planet they landed, to create settlements. But we do have hints that there were potential military applications of SIVA, and I mean, now that we know exactly how much of a douchebag Clove Spray is, yeah, it's potential.
Sin, this is where you're supposed to say, is so-and-so coming back?
Yes, Wrath is coming back.
Excellent. Oh.
I wouldn't mind seeing the return of the Splicers. That would be nice. Because I think they're about the only enemy type we don't have in D2. Even though, I mean, they weren't massively different, but still.
And I wouldn't mind seeing Wrath of the Machine come back. It's such a good raid. It really is. People haven't run that raid. It was it was a good capstone raid for D1.
Yeah, I mean, I freaking loved it. Like, God, I loved running that raid. It was, even when I was early, I felt it was like underappreciated by quite a many.
Yeah.
That at least I ran with. But yeah, it was a very interesting experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Sweaty. We do first have a bonus question. We were talking about food earlier, but we like to ask our guests.
Sure.
What is a favorite or several favorites? You can go with this however you want. But what's a dessert that you like?
Well, there's a couple that I can think of immediately. I'm trying to think if there's anything really unique. Well, let's go with this. Something that's unique to the Maritimes. A certain company that goes by the three letters ADL, and it stands for Amalgamated Dairies Limited. Actually, I guess that's more of a dairy product, but it goes hand in hand with our, I guess, internationally / globally recognized ice cream company, otherwise known as Cow's. And I think the two companies work together, which is kind of why I brought it up. We're very well known for our dairy products. But Cow's ice cream is by far, hands down, one of the most absolutely amazing ice cream that I've ever had in my life. As soon as you walk in, you smell their homemade waffle cones. And they have like just about every kind of a flavor under the sun that you could possibly imagine. Pair that with what we would call the Anne of Green Gables Soda Pop Raspberry Cordial. Amazing. It's just very good. On a more general level, I just like apple crisp and cherry cheesecake.
All that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the raspberry cordial is very, also very unique to our local area. I mean, I don't know. I don't. This is going to sound hilarious, but the Anne of Green Gables, I mean, I've been told the story so many times growing up as a kid and going through all the stuff. I still don't know what it is and why it's famous for it. But I do know that Anne of Green Gables makes an amazing raspberry cordial soda pop, and it's delicious.
Nice. Yeah, I see this raspberry cordial, Prince Edward Island.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it better reminds me. Hilariously, being like spending a large portion of my life in Alabama, I didn't realize that that state has a barbecue sauce that it's known for. And I guessed it wasn't like a regional thing for me. And hilariously, I only tried it like a couple weeks ago. So now that I've moved from that state, I finally got a sample of it. It's actually pretty good. I'll say that. It's actually pretty good.
Excellent. All right. Well, Sweaty, again, it's been a pleasure having you on. I want all the good listeners to check you out on your stream to know all about you. So this is your opportunity to let us know, and we'll, of course, put in our show notes. But
or as we like to say, plug yourself.
Yeah, plug yourself, sir.
Yeah, for sure. So if anybody's interested, coming to hang out on stream, you can find me at Twitch under SweatySpookz. That's Sweaty is spelled how it sounds. And for Spooks, it's SPOOKZ. That's a unique factor.
That's a Z, by the way.
Yep. Yeah. Zulu, zebra. And you can find me in the Guardian Hub, Guardian Downcast, and I guess the Frozen Clan, sort of the Two Titans and a Hunter Discords. I as well have my own. If you're curious on joining or would like to be a part of the Discord, you can feel free to message me in either of those 3 Discords, and I'll be happy to provide you with an invite to the Spooky Mansion. And we're basically just like-minded individuals. We pretty well all, like, everybody that's in these Discords are also in mine, but we mostly just stick to their Discords just because that's their home. Who knows? Maybe I'll build a community someday, but as of right now, it's mostly just me and a couple friends, such as Truth Lives. He hangs out in there with me quite a bit. Kudos to that guy. Appreciate him. You can find me on everywheres and anywheres. Pretty much just as SweatySpookz. If it's not SweatySpookz, SweatySpookz TTV.
Excellent. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Big time.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
That's fantastic.
Yep. It's been a breeze talking to you, so we appreciate it.
Yeah. And hopefully you'll hear from me again sometime in a podcast near you.
Ooh, hopefully. Keep the people on their toes, waiting for that.
Yep, for sure.
Well, as we close out, Sin, where can people get a hold of you?
Well, they can find me on twitch.tv/SynMedia, Sin is CYN, and over on Twitter at Sin_media. DesRaven.
I'm here. I'm alive. I'm breathing. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at DES_Raven. You can find me chilling out in most of the aforementioned Discords. Guardian Down, Guardian Hub. Yes, I lurk in the Spooky Mansion too. And also, on a side note, definitely go check out SweatySpookz and his stream, because I do believe I haven't hung out there like as much as I wanted to, but very interesting like channel redeem points. Yes, and I do have to ask, do you still have the singing up there?
Do you know what? I think I replaced that with one of my personal talents that isn't garbage, which involves a guitar, 6 strings, an acoustic. So that singing one has been replaced with guitar riffs.
All right, that's fair enough, and even better. So yeah, go accumulate like 2,000 viewer points and make him play the guitar.
Oh, so, yeah. Do that. I'll do that.
So Kingsley.
Yes. You can find me as Kingsley Mac on all the places, except for on Twitter, I'm MC Kingsley. And you can find our show either on Twitter as The Guardian Hub or on our lovely website, which is theguardianhub.com.
The best hub on the net.
Well, thanks everyone for listening again this week, and please check out our guest and SweatySpookz. Follow him everywhere, and we really appreciate everyone listening in, and we will talk to you again next week. Goodbye.
Later.
Guardians out.